Hello there, guys! Welcome back to European Qualifiers Hub. We've got a lot of action in the European Qualifiers for the World Cup 2026 right now, which is going to take place in less than a year. But the half of the groups only have just started their qualification campaign, those groups of four, and there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot of action going on my channel as well. As seen, I've been making a lot of subscribers lately without even uploading. So I thought I'd give you a quick video before even the September qualifying matches completely wrap up so that you just get a quick overview. Of course, what we're mainly concerned about on this channel are the playoff spots, who is going to make it, who still has a chance to make it if the qualification in the group doesn't work out. Just a quick recap: the team that finishes first in any given group qualifies directly for World Cup 2026. All of these second place finishers go to the playoffs, where there are four more places being played out in four paths or four teams, a lot of fours. And and we also have four teams qualifying over the Nations League. These are the group winners up to San Marino, and the other teams would be getting a spot if there are not enough group winners who finish first or worst. So these group winners are ordered in how well they finished or in which league they were in. This is League A, B, C, and D, only two teams. But with what has been happening, we've really been seeing that it is very unlikely that one of the non-group winners, which are those teams starting from here, will even get a playoff spot over the Nations League ranking. So let's unpack on why that is, what these standings are, and what you just need to understand is that it changed up the whole game for any team right here, whether that be Moldova, San Marino, or like potentially Scotland, if you say Scotland doesn't qualify. It changes up a whole lot when, for example, you would switch out Slovakia and Northern Ireland. If Northern Ireland does qualify, they don't take their playoff spot. Of course, we don't have all the qualifiers filled out because it's not finished yet. But if, for example, Northern Ireland would qualify and Slovakia wouldn't, it would be beneficial to those teams, even though they have nothing to do with the qualifying group. But this spot could be passed down. Whereas if Slovakia qualifies, finishes first or second, which it looks very much like they're going to do, there's no benefit for those teams because Slovakia is not a group winner and not in a position to pass down a spot. So who is in a position to do that? Well, for starters, we're going to look at all the groups where there is something going on. Group J, for example, you have Wales and Northern Macedonia and Belgium. They're all fighting. Belgium in the best position. And as you can see, Belgium, they're not on there. So Belgium are actually in the worst position to get a playoff spot, but in the best position to qualify. What does it mean? It means that one of those teams, it doesn't matter which team, pretty much is going to qualify and the other isn't. So that is one playoff spot going to either Wales or North Macedonia. As I said, it doesn't matter for the teams down there. It would matter if Belgium didn't qualify, but as I've said, they are in the strongest position. Speaking of their group ranking and moving on, we have Romania, who've still got a chance, but they've lost against Bosnia. Austria is looking strong. Romania looks like it's going to finish third, so they have this spot assured. Like they would have to be four teams from out of those not qualifying for Romania to not get their spot by the Nations League. So they're assured of a spot. One thing that is important, however, is that those four teams that qualify by the Nations League ranking will be placed in pot 4 for the draw for the eventual playoffs. What does it mean? It means that, for example, Italy, who look like they're finishing second, going to the playoffs, they are of course high in the FIFA rankings, they will be in pot 1. So if you're in pot 4, you can draw Italy in your first match. you will still have to go against a pot one team in your second match final potentially, of course, but you want to avoid it. But the way it's looking, we could have a very strong pot 4 team full of very ambitious nations, because if you look at who is there as well, Sweden, they are in the worst position in Group B right now. They've lost one game, won one game. They're the only teams out of those three who have still 2 matches against Switzerland, the strongest team of the group. So it doesn't matter if Slovenia makes it, if Kosovo makes it at second. As long as Sweden doesn't make it, it's another spot that is blocked. And if you look at who's also there, Northern Ireland, they're not going to make it, very likely. Slovakia is in a very good position. They've beaten Germany. Germany will, as it looks, finish above Northern Ireland. They've beat them. So you already see those League C group winners, they are blocking all of the available spots right now. And even if, let's say, Romania and Sweden, they do qualify, you have Moldova and San Marino, who 100% are not going to make it via the group stage. They're not going to finish it. So even if 2 of those teams, and keep in mind, Macedonia just finishing top 2 is not enough, because they would have to, Wales would have to finish there as well. So you would need to have Belgium finish third, which is also unlikely. Even if you had 2 of those spots being passed down, they would be taken by Moldova, San Marino. So there's absolutely no way that any non-group winner is going to qualify via the Nations League. The way it's looking right now, we're going to have a really strong lineup of pot 4 teams, because we're not even going to have those teams who aren't going to be competitive, probably. But you see, down here are Scotland, Serbia. So you will have a lot of dogfights in all of the remaining groups, and you can take a look at that. There are so many teams where it's pretty clear they're not going to get a spot in the playoffs via the Nations League, and they have a very strong team in their group that will finish first. So you have a lot of dogfights in the remaining groups. This is not one of them, because Sweden, they can kind of chill. I'm just going to give it to Slovenia. No, I'm actually going to give it to Kosovo, because they've won against Sweden, but it doesn't matter, as I've said, for the playoffs. But it's a dogfight, for example, between those two, Slovenia and Kosovo. They have no shot. Serbia doesn't have a shot. Albania doesn't have a shot. They don't have a shot. Serbia right now in the stronger position, but they've only drawn against Albania. But one of those teams is not going to make it to the playoffs. Another group, especially those groups of 4, they are very important. Poland, Finland, another one. It looks like Poland's gonna make it. You have a group of 5. There are already more games being played there, or that have been played there, but still a lot is possible. This group, Greece, Scotland, they are not, one of them is not going to make it. Same for Ukraine, Iceland. Same for Turkey, Georgia. I've put Turkey in blue. They might not even, they have beaten Georgia, but it's a group of 4, so only 2 games been played right now. Hungary and Ireland, they drew, so it's probably going to come down to their final meeting. And you see those teams nowhere. And as I've explained, as I've explained, basically anyone below San Marino has no shot. So you've got like 4 or 5 groups where it's going to come down probably to the direct matchups, might even come down to goal difference. And you only have a few teams that can really chill out. Those are Sweden, Romania, Northern Ireland, Macedonia, and Wales. They will want to, of course, finish first if possible, but realistically they rather try to finish second to get a better matchup, in the playoff semifinals. I also do believe that the better ranked team plays at home in the semifinal. So if you're pot 1 or 2, you play at home for your game, because these are one-off matches. It's not home and away. It's you win your match and then you're in the final against another team. I do believe I haven't double checked it, but I do believe that you are the host. And some of those teams could be in pot two if they manage to finish second in their groups, which would be a big advantage. Of course, you will have strong teams in the playoffs as it's looking right now, potentially even Germany, Italy looking very likely. They've won against Israel, so they will finish second as it looks. You have the Czech Republic, who is pretty much safe in second. They cannot really go up or down anymore. And you will just have a lot of teams to wear at Euro. So keep in mind, you have 12 teams qualified directly. That's only half of the teams that qualified for Euro 2024. So the vast majority of the remaining teams is going to be in the playoffs. Right now, you only would have one team that has been at Euro 2024 qualify for the playoffs over the Nations League, but that's because most of them just are in here, or many of them. You see many of them. You see, for example, Ukraine could be one of them, and Scotland. And really, those groups of four, there's not much happening there, but you already know right now that for a lot of those teams, the playoffs are not an option. It's top two or lose out, and only 25% of the teams in the playoffs will actually make it, but it will give those nations a last glimmer of hope for, well, the remainder of the year. Of course, we will finish in November. We will have the World Cup draw before we will even know who qualifies via the playoffs. We will know who's in there, but we won't know who will actually come out on top. And that's going to be really exciting. And you will have those playoffs in March 2026, 3 months before the tournament kicks off. So it's really a lot of drama. And yeah, if you want, I can make another update video in October just to go over the groups in more detail. By that point, we'll have a very good chance to predict who is really going to make it, who has no shot. Right now, all I can say is that we will have a very strong playoff. Yeah, playoff four who will go there via the Nations League, and we will have a lot of very close calls in groups where it's either going to the playoffs or just not making the World Cup. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Just let me know if you want to see more. Let me know if you want to see more videos. I really appreciate the support. And we will meet each other soon, I believe, in October when the European Qualifiers kick off again. Until then, have a great time.